Welcome back to another edition of Nest Egg. We want to get right into our questions today. We have two really good questions. Quint, I think this first one's probably going to be for you. So we have John from Lexington. It says, I read your recent piece about buying high, selling low. Are you saying that you think the market has bottomed and you would buy here?
Okay, so thanks for that question, John. Appreciate that. And as we know, if you're new to the show or you're watching for the first time, what we do here is you send us questions, we answer them, and hopefully you can find some value. So send us those questions. What is it? It's
Nestegg.
Nestegg at jewelfinancial.com. That's Nestegg at jewelfinancial.com. Now, before I answer this question from John, because we got some questions about last episode. I am not moving to Florida anytime soon, okay? We had a question last week about buying property in Florida, selling investments to do so, et cetera. And I mentioned how my wife and I were looking. This is a long-term goal at some point, but I have 3 kids in school, 1 in elementary school. So we're here for a long time. All right. So, yeah, if you haven't read the piece, you can check it out on our website, jewelfinancial.com. I wrote this, Logan, more because of the conversations we were having with people, which I just had another yesterday, which I just find fascinating. It's more about the psychology of the markets. We are still well off of highs. I mean, the S&P is, I think, down 16, 17% for the year. The only one really that is respectable this year is the Dow, which is a very narrow group of stocks. But we have companies that are off 70, 80% from highs. The NASDAQ is still flirting, I think, with around 30% drop from the highs recently. And what I meant to discuss was it's fascinating to me that we now have value, all right? Now, I understand it's opinionated. Maybe we have better value in a few months. I don't know. But we have value, and the overarching theme is, should I sell?
Yeah.
And what is amazing to me, and I've 22 years in the business, it shouldn't be amazing to me, but it is, that last year when we wrote the piece raising the caution flag, time-stamped on the website, which is great, it wasn't because of some, fundamental macro view. It was because we had people coming to us and saying, what? Should I take more risk?
Right.
When the market was trading at levels that was, in hindsight now ridiculous. What's amazing to me, I have no idea if the market, shorter to intermediate term, certainly looks like it's trying to find a bottom. It's well off the lows of October. There's many constructive things going on out there. So, yeah, I'm a buyer. We're buying. I'm putting capital to work. But it's more about the psychology from an investor standpoint. We have to flip the switch. If you want to be a successful investor, we all know the adage, buy low, sell high. We all know the adage, be greedy when others are fearful. You have to do it. You got to put it in place if you want to be successful. So if you find yourself going, should I sell here? I mean, at minimum, have a conversation with your advisor. Look at your allocation. You'll probably be surprised that some of your losses are on the bond side,
for sure.
Not stocks, right? I mean, stocks are down too, which bonds are now paying a decent amount. So, John, yeah, I actually do think the market presents great opportunity here personally, and we're doing this for clients, but it was more about the psychology, and it just was another opportunity to say, if you're looking to buy high when it feels good, and then you want to sell low when it feels bad, that's exactly the opposite of what we want to be doing.
Yeah, and it's unbelievable how quickly that pendulum shifts. I think you wrote that article about a year ago today, which was near the tops of the market. And then what we've seen, I think, recently is in the news, not necessarily our clients, but in the news and the way people are talking and how negative they are, that things are just going to continue to go down, has been part of our thesis that we feel like there's a bottom forming.
Yeah, the negativity is as thick as I've ever seen it. We could spend a lot of time talking about that. We won't. But I will tell everybody that, again, 22 years in the business, there's always a crisis. There always is a crisis around the corner. And as we solve one, we will find another. I've never been in an environment where I'm like, oh, this is great. Everything's wonderful. Let's just buy it. They go up every day. It never works that way.
Right. Good. Okay, let's get to our second question here. And Daniel, I think this is going to be a little bit up your alley. So this is Barbara in Florida, and she says, I have yet to take my RMD, and I have heard I can donate to a church. How do I do this?
Absolutely. So a qualified charitable distribution, or a QCD for short, is actually a really powerful tool for people who are in the required minimum distribution phase of their retirement accounts. In fact, it only applies to people who are in that required minimum distribution phase. And what it allows you to do is send directly to charity from your tax-deferred account, so your IRA, a charitable contribution, which reduces then the RMD that you need to take. So you can do that all the way up to the amount that you need to RMD for the year. The benefit of that is that it's going to keep that off of your tax return. So for a lot of retirees, maybe they've paid off the house, they live in a state with zero income tax, and so they're utilizing now the standard deduction again for their tax filing. So, you know, if they are giving $10,000, $15,000 to charity, that they get no benefit from that on their tax return. By utilizing a qualified charitable distribution, it keeps that off of your gross income on your tax return. So you're actually getting a deduction for doing that by sending it directly from the IRA, and still getting to claim the itemized deduction on your tax return. So the benefits of that can be pretty significant.
Now, so Daniel, what about an inherited IRA? Can you do a charitable distribution in an inherited IRA?
Yeah, so for an inherited IRAs, you're going to want to reach, your RMD age. So it doesn't apply to for instance, people taking the 10-year rule RMDs prior to their RMD age. It's going to actually apply to your age and whether or not you qualify for RMD age.
Okay, fantastic.
Great opportunity, though. It was a Barbara?
Barbara.
Barbara, I don't think she's a client of ours. So, Barbara, thanks for sending that question in, but great opportunity to chat with your advisor. This is something we do for our folks all the time. I will say we had a nuance the other day, and you caught this, which was great, in that if you are taking RMDs already and you have it set, let's say your custodian is sending a portion to federal tax for the government for federal taxes, you want to make sure that you adjust that when you do your qualified charitable distribution, or you may have a portion sent to the federal government for taxes even though you sent it to your church. So, again, there's just some nuances there, but a great strategy to avoid the taxable implications of an RMD and give to a nonprofit, 501c3. I will say the final thing, you cannot give to a donor-advised fund. So if you give regularly, my wife and I contribute to a donor-advised fund, and then we contribute high appreciated capital gains stock. We sell that stock, and then we give that to 501c3s. That's a great strategy as well. Talk about that another time. But you cannot give a qualified charitable distribution out of an IRA to a donor-advised fund. It has to go to the 501c3 directly.
All right, great. We're going to wrap it up there. Thank you all so much for continuing to watch these videos. Make sure, again, that you send us questions. We won't be coming to you next week because it's Thanksgiving. I hope you all have a great Thanksgiving, and hopefully we see the Cats have a little bit of a turnaround, at least put up a good fight this weekend.
Oh, it's a tough game. I will say this. If you're watching this on the video, this will also be going out now via podcast. So some of you are new to podcasting, and that's fine. On your phone, if you have an iPhone, it's already in there. You can actually just look for the podcast app, and you can search for Nest Egg. And Nest Egg podcast will be sort of updated regularly. So if you're not well-versed with the YouTube sort of thing, or you want to share it, you can actually subscribe to the podcast and share that with your friends as well. So check that out on iTunes or Spotify if you are well-versed in podcasting. That's where we'll be as well.
All right. Thanks so much.